The second topic in the strategic planning module focuses on mission, goals and objectives. Again, these are very much foundational strategic management concepts which you will most likely have professional experience with, and at the very least will have been covered in undergraduate coursework, if not already in this master's program. Mission, goals and objectives are three separate but interdependent elements of the strategic planning process. As such, it makes sense to cover them together in one recording, and it also makes it easier for me too. When I'm asked to think about mission statements, goals, objectives, etc., I like to think of the VMOST pyramid. Okay, so at the top of the pyramid is the vision, then mission, objectives, strategy, and tactics. I think what VMOST does a good job with is demonstrating the linkage and golden thread from the broad visioning to the specific and actionable tasks and tactics. However, one thing I think could be improved in the VMOST model is the differentiation between goals and objectives. Really, and as we will discuss through this recording, the acronym should be VMGHOST. Okay, so VMGOST to reflect the differences between goals and objectives. But anyway, VMOST, it sets a nice foundation from which to progress. Now, vision isn't referenced explicitly within the strategic planning process, but I thought it worthy of a mention here. As the first bullet says, vision statements declare where your organization wants to be in the future, framed in an aspirational, forward-thinking manner. Vision should be creative, ambitious, and have a logical connection to the mission. This isn't a roadmap, that's what your strategy is for, but rather the destination based on your mission. So consider this. We might be well advised to recognize the limitations of an overemphasis on planning and consider developing an overall vision rather than precisely defined strategic plan. Now, I think this statement has some value, but perhaps its accuracy is very contextual. I want to give you an example of the National Sports Council in Wales, Sport Wales. I spent a couple of years working for Sport Wales, managing government investment into grassroots youth and community sport. Now, what I think Sport Wales did well was to articulate a strong vision, which, as you can see in the bottom right hand corner of this screen, is uniting a proud sporting nation. That's one thing that the Welsh are. They're very proud of their sport, in particular rugby. Now, beneath the vision statement were two aspirations. A nation of champions set the aspiration for Sport Wales' work and advocacy around elite sport. But at the community level, the aspiration was every child hooked on sport for life. What that meant in quantifiable terms was that the desired end state is one where every child is taking part in 60 minutes of moderate to vigorous intensity sport and physical activity on 5 occasions a week. Now, Sport Wales are not responsible for the delivery of physical activity on the ground. Rather, they are the arm's length government entity managing public investment into sport. So this was a perfect case for there to be a need for a strong vision and less of an emphasis on a strategic plan, because what the Every Child Hooked on Sport for Life aspiration did was provide a framework from which all of the delivery partners across the country could base their own strategic and tactical plans. In terms of mission, these statements articulate the purpose and reason for existence of the organization. Now, David suggests there are 9 questions that should be answered by the firm's mission. These are: who are your customers? What are your major products or services? Where do you compete? Is technology a primary concern? Are you committed to economic objectives? What are your organizational philosophies? What are your distinctive competencies or major competitive advantages? Is your public image a major concern? And finally, what is your firm's attitude towards employees? Now, there are some here that I'm less convinced about. In particular, the technology of primary concern question stands out for me, but most of the others I can see in some shape or form through various mission statements that I've seen across different sectors and industries, including recreation and parks. Shivers and Halper actually suggest the mission of the Public Recreational Service Department or system is to enable the constituency during their respective leisure to participate in recreational experience in areas that are safe, healthful, most conducive to satisfying personal and social needs through learning new recreational activities, honing acquired skills for a high quality of life, or both. Now, this suggests that public recreation agencies have somewhat of a predetermined and consistent mission, and there isn't too much leeway in the purpose and reason for existence of such agencies. Specifically, it is the purpose of the recreational delivery system to plan, organise and conduct a comprehensive programme of recreational activities designed to appeal to the skills, tastes, talents and appreciations of the constituency. And how does this manifest in specific examples? I've taken the two most local Rec and Parks mission statement examples in the Frostburg area. First is the city of Frostburg itself, whose Parks and Recreation Department is committed to providing quality recreational facilities and programs to serve the citizens of Frostburg and the surrounding communities in Allegheny and Garrett counties. Second is the Cumberland Parks and Rec Department, who strive to enhance the quality of life in Cumberland by offering a wide variety of high quality, safe, accessible and affordable recreational activities and facilities that meet the year-round leisure time needs of Cumberland area residents of all ages and interests. Now, of course, geography is a clear difference here. Even though it's 10 minutes down the road, but there are some notable similarities. For example, I see quality or quality of life as a common thread. Also, of course, and this links to the core product, are activities, programs, facilities and services. Moving on to goals, these are defined as open-ended statements of planned accomplishment. Okay, but more recently, BHAGs or Big Hairy Audacious Goals have received quite a lot of notoriety in a number of different sectors. The idea here is that goals are a statement of bold ambition so clear that it requires little or no explanation. They're short, strong and easily remembered. And there's an example here from Stanford University during the 1940s to become the Harvard of the West. Now, as the Venn diagram shows here as well, BHAGs are a combination of passion, best in world practices and economic performance. And when you look and try and read the Stanford's goal from the 1940s, it helps to provide a context for the level of ambition or audacity that's involved with big, hairy, audacious goals. I'd encourage you to think about your own agency's goals and whether they qualify as big, hairy and or audacious. You might also want to think about integrating these ideas into your applied activity for the strategic planning module. Like the mission statement, there is some consistency over organizational goals for Rec and Parks agencies. As Shivers and Halper suggest, the primary goal for recreational service agencies is to enable actual or potential participants to engage in experiences that are enjoyable, satisfying and stimulating to the interests of the individual performer. I've included on Canvas a link to an Active Network article which lists 37 Rec and Parks goals taken from a content analysis of North American agencies. I include two examples here, which are the first one, preserve, protect, maintain, improve and enhance natural resources, parkland and recreational opportunities, and the second, anticipate the needs of the changing community and structure programs and facilities accordingly. Now, these aren't perhaps big, hairy and audacious, but these are goals nonetheless. The primary goal of recreational service agencies sets the condition for the development of objectives, which leads to the achievement of the stated mission. Now, this is where there is much contest, conflict about the SMART criteria. What should be SMART? Is it that goals are SMART, or is it that objectives are SMART? Now, this could be just semantics, but I present here SMART objectives, as it is objectives that determine the performance levels that the organization wants to attain. Objectives, importantly, also provides specificity that is generally lacking in the statement of goals. As you will probably know, SMART stands for specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. I've taken this worksheet from an online resource created by an academic called Wirtz. I think this table does a good job of plugging in the different elements of the SMART framework. Again, I hope this table and this sort of formula will come in handy for the strategic plan activity that concludes this module on strategic planning. Finally, I wanted to provide some examples that link together all three of the strategic planning components discussed in this recording. So what is the mission, goals, objectives relationship? And as you can see from the table on this slide, you have the company mission, so the purpose and reason for existence, an example of a goal, so a general statement of accomplishment, followed by 3 SMART objectives that establish the desired performance levels. Now, organizations rarely have just one goal. What this table does a good job is displaying the linkage between a mission statement and 3 general goals. And then each of those general goals have 2 supporting and specific SMART objectives. It would be interesting to look at the relationship between mission, goals, and objectives in your agency and see if you can draw a similar link to what is shown on this slide. So there we have it for recording 2 of the strategic planning module, which was much shorter than the first one. The third and final recording offers some thoughts on strategy formulation. Take care.